Some cars earn their reputation over a generation or two and then gradually fade as the market moves on. The Honda Civic is not one of those cars. It has spent decades as one of the most consistently relevant vehicles in the compact segment, accumulating a reputation for reliability, efficiency, and driving enjoyment that its competitors have spent enormous resources trying to match. The current 11th generation model is by any reasonable measure an excellent car, yet Honda is already deep into development of its successor. Early details about the 12th generation Civic are beginning to surface, and what they suggest is a car that takes everything the current version does well and pushes it meaningfully further in almost every direction. A development prototype was recently spotted undergoing testing, heavily disguised with camouflage panels borrowed from the existing model to conceal whatever visual changes are coming. That kind of disguise is standard practice during early testing phases, allowing engineers to put real miles on the mechanical components without tipping off the competition or the press about the final design. The prototype revealed very little about how the next Civic will actually look, but its existence confirmed that development is well advanced and that the car is on track for a debut somewhere around late 2026 or early 2027, arriving as either a 2027 or 2028 model year vehicle. In the absence of real design details, digital artist Theophilus Chin produced a conceptual rendering attempting to imagine what the next Civic might look like once the camouflage finally comes off. The exercise is speculative by definition, but it draws on real influences that are visible in Honda's current design direction. The most significant of those is the Honda e:NS2, an electric crossover sold in China that recently appeared in Japan under the Honda Insight nameplate. That car introduces a sharper, more sculpted visual language with distinctive LED lighting signatures that Chin's rendering translates into a sedan format, giving the imagined Civic a crisper front end and a more upscale character than the current generation. The side profile in the rendering borrows subtly from the BMW 5 Series in its panel surfacing and character lines, which sounds like an unusual reference point for a compact Honda, but actually reads convincingly in the visualization. At the rear, slimmer horizontal lamps replace the more distinctive taillight shapes associated with recent Civics, creating a cleaner and more minimalist finish. Whether the actual car ends up anywhere near this interpretation remains to be seen, but the rendering at least illustrates how Honda's evolving design language could plausibly translate to its most important model. The confirmed engineering details are where the story gets more concrete and more interesting. The next Civic will ride on a revised platform that sheds approximately 188 pounds, or around 90 kilograms, compared with the current generation. Weight reduction of that magnitude does not happen by accident and typically requires rethinking how structural elements are designed and what materials are used throughout the vehicle. The benefits flow directly into handling agility and efficiency, but Honda is not stopping at simply making the car lighter. The new platform is also expected to deliver greater structural rigidity, which on paper sounds like it might work against weight savings, but in practice reflects advances in how materials and construction techniques can simultaneously reduce mass while improving stiffness. Better chassis rigidity gives suspension components a more stable foundation to work from, which translates into more precise handling responses and a more composed ride over imperfect surfaces. Honda has specifically flagged sharper steering feel and more planted handling as development priorities, backed up by wider track dimensions that lower the car's center of gravity and give it a more confident stance through corners. A new motion management system will work alongside an upgraded version of Honda's existing Agile Handling Assist technology, adding pitch control functionality that actively manages the car's body movements under acceleration, braking, and cornering. By coordinating torque distribution and braking inputs in real time, the system aims to keep the Civic feeling balanced and settled through the kinds of direction changes where lesser compact cars start to feel unsettled. The powertrain story centers on the latest generation of Honda's e:EV self-charging hybrid system, which pairs a 2.0-liter four-cylinder engine with two electric motors. Honda's engineers are projecting roughly a 30% improvement in fuel efficiency compared with the hybrid system in the current Civic, alongside stronger overall performance output. The way the system works is meaningfully different from a conventional automatic transmission setup. Rather than relying on a multi-gear gearbox, the electric motors handle the majority of propulsion duties, with the petrol engine acting as both a generator and a supplemental power source depending on what the driving situation demands. Transitions between electric and engine-driven operation are designed to be seamless, which in practice means smooth, linear acceleration without the stepped feel that traditional transmissions can introduce. One of the more intriguing additions to the powertrain package is a feature called Honda S Plus Shift, which was previously previewed on the Honda Prelude Revival concept. The system uses carefully controlled torque modulation and synchronized sound design to simulate the sensation of gear changes, even though the hybrid drivetrain has no conventional gearbox. It is the kind of feature that sounds gimmicky in a press release, but can make a genuine difference to how engaging a car feels on a road you actually enjoy driving. For Civic enthusiasts who grew up with the manual gearboxes that defined earlier generations of the car, the idea of recovering some of that interactive quality through an intelligent electronic system rather than a physical gear lever is at least worth taking seriously. Component sharing will play a significant role in how efficiently Honda can bring the new Civic to market. Around 60% of the car's parts are expected to be shared with other models in the lineup, including the HR-V, CR-V, and Accord. That level of parts commonality helps control development and manufacturing costs, while also allowing Honda to apply lessons learned across multiple vehicle programs simultaneously. For buyers, the practical benefit of shared components across a well-established lineup is usually better long-term reliability and a more mature parts supply chain, both of which matter considerably when someone is deciding whether to keep a car for 8 or 10 years. When the 12th generation Civic does eventually reach showrooms, the competitive landscape it enters will be familiar but far from static. The Toyota Corolla remains the perennial benchmark in the segment and is itself expected to undergo a generational update in the coming years. The Hyundai Elantra has raised design expectations considerably, and the Kia K4 represents a sharp new entry from a brand that has been consistently impressive in this space. The Mazda 3 continues to offer arguably the most rewarding driving experience in the segment, even as it ages. None of these rivals are standing still, and the compact car market continues to evolve rapidly, even as buyer preferences shift toward crossovers. What Honda appears to be building is a Civic that meets that competition without abandoning the qualities that have made the nameplate matter for so long. Lighter, more efficient, more dynamically capable, and equipped with hybrid technology that genuinely advances on what came before, the next generation looks like a careful and confident evolution rather than a reactive redesign driven by external pressure. The compact sedan segment has contracted as buyers have moved toward crossovers, but the buyers who remain in it tend to care genuinely about the driving experience and the long-term ownership proposition. Honda has built a car for those buyers for decades, and everything pointing toward the 12th generation suggests they are not about to stop.